Hello, hello, gorgeous souls. Welcome to another fabulous webinar on all things Lemuria. So, Lemuria Rising, we're going to be talking about how you can discover your connections to the lost land of Lemuria. We're going to go over a little background on Lemuria as well as some fabulous Lemurian asteroids that you can plug in to see where they fall in your natal chart. And most importantly, how this can help us achieve our highest timeline. So let's get into it. Okay, so in this Lemuria Rising webinar, we are going to be talking about the legend of Lemuria, the symbolism of Lemurian crystals, Lemuria Rising and the New Earth, the astrology of some very important Lemurian asteroids, and how those can help you discover your connections to past, parallel, future lives in Lemuria, because time is not linear, and of course, how this can help us achieve our highest timeline. So, for those of you not familiar with Lemuria, the legend of Lemuria is very long and complex, and I talk in depth about it on Patreon, but here's just a quick overview. So, Lemurians are an ancient pre Atlantean, super advanced society who survived a cataclysmic event on Earth that sank the continent of Lemuria, also known as Mu. The Lemurians represent one of the root races of humans that were seeded millions of years ago by a variety of galactic ancestors, including the Pleiadians, the Lyrans, and the Andromedans, just to name a few. And Lemurian survivors after the fall of Lemuria moved underground and currently reside in Mount Shasta, also known as Telos. So while there is some overlap between Atlantis and Lemuria, these two very advanced societies embodied much different energies. Lemuria was a bit more of the divine feminine energy, connected more to earth, nature, more simple kind of style of living, whereas Atlantis was a bit more of an embodiment of divine masculine energy and more connected to and valued advancement in technology, particularly crystal technology. Okay, so a little bit about the history of Lemuria. In 1864, zoologist Philip Sclater published an article about a classification of species called lemurs, in which he was kind of puzzled by the presence of their fossils in both Madagascar and India, but not in Africa or the Middle East. So he hypothesized that Madagascar and India had once been a part of a larger supercontinent, which was the first theory leading to the discovery of ancient supercontinent Pangaea. And following his scientific discovery, the continent of Lemuria began to appear in the works of other scholars looking for this missing link in this area, proposing that fossils of the first humans sunk under the sea or were destroyed. But some propose that the lost land went somewhere else. So fast forward to 1899 when Frederick Spencer Oliver published A Dweller on Two Planets, a book which claimed that survivors from the sunken continent called Lemuria or Mu were living in Mount Shasta. And in this book, Lemurians lived in a series of complex tunnels beneath the mountains, and locals would sometimes see them wandering outside the mountain in these white robes. There are still many people that hang out around Mount Shasta searching for Lemurian or Telosian beings, and they look just like us. So you might not actually know. And according to the Lemurian connection, the history of Lemuria goes back to 4.5 million BC when the civilization ruled the earth. The continent of Lemuria was located in the Pacific Ocean and extended from western United States and Canada to the lands in the Indian Ocean and Madagascar. Then about 25,000 to 50,000 years ago, Atlantis and Lemuria were the two most highly civilized civilizations, advanced civilizations on Earth, and that's when things started to go south. So you can kind of see in the picture below, Lemuria was huge. It was probably 2 or 3 times the size of Atlantis in Pacific Ocean area, whereas Atlantis was more in the Atlantic Ocean side. So there was dissension between Atlantis and Lemuria that arose regarding the development and evolution of other civilizations. The Lemurians really believed that less evolved cultures should be left alone, just to allow themselves to evolve on their own path without much interference. Whereas the Atlanteans kind of believed the opposite. They thought they should be involved. They should maybe even have more of oversight of what was going on. And of course, there was other fundamental differences in their value system, their ideologies, and how they chose to live their lives. So the argument between Atlanteans and Lemurians over these different ideologies and values eventually resulted in several thermonuclear wars, which weakened the continental plates. And when the wars were over and the dust had settled, there were no winners, only death, destruction, and further debasing of the human spirit. And both sides realize the futility of such behaviors. Some even claim there are some theories that claim that negative alien agenda or service to self extraterrestrials, the Zetas, Orions, Draconians, gave the Atlanteans technology they knew the Earth could not handle, which ultimately destroyed both Lemuria and Atlantis. Now, the fall of Lemuria was much slower and more gradual over time. And the Lemurians, because they were so in tune with nature and their intuitions, saw this coming. And they began to encode crystals hidden deep within the earth with all of their secret knowledge and wisdom. So eventually, when it was time, when Lemuria would rise again, the humans on Earth, or the inhabitants of Earth at that time, could access this knowledge and wisdom from those hidden buried crystals and the crystal libraries deep within the Earth. The fall of Atlantis happened much more suddenly. So the fall of Lemuria, as I said, more gradual, kind of broke off in different stages, with the easternmost part of Lemuria eventually shifting to merge with what is now the west coast of North America. And this made it easy for the Lemurians to resettle in various parts of North and South America, some of them in Mount Shasta, many of them in Central and South America as well. And some of the survivors also settled in what eventually remained of the island, Lemuria, which is now Hawaii, Polynesia, Bali, Tahiti, and the Philippines. The Lemurians decided to build a separate society inside Mount Shasta where they would be safe from any disruptions on the surface of the earth. And this was the city of Telos they built inside Mount Shasta. And Lemurian energy can be felt and contacted through spiritual practices, especially when visiting Mount Shasta. I myself frequent Mount Shasta quite often, and connecting with it, even just gazing at the mountain, staring at the mountain for some time, you can actually see it's almost like there's an etheric mountain above it and beneath it. So I do firmly believe that the Telosians are there. There's so many different paranormal phenomenon and spiritual energies and experiences that people have, again, myself included, when you go to Mount Shasta. So there's definitely something going on there that's Lemurian in nature, I believe. So Lemurian crystals, okay, these are really important, I think, to talk about before we get into the astrology of Lemuria. So Lemurian crystals is a type of quartz crystal. People love it for its clear or kind of milky white color, and it can have a finish, kind of a pinkish hue as well. There's long ridges along both sides of the crystals. Many of them have different like time capsules, keys, libraries in them. All kinds of different striations, and it's believed those lines are what hold deep secrets within them. You can find Lemurian quartz crystals in many shapes and sizes. They make stunning pieces of jewelry. Some people use them for healing and meditation practices. And I believe if you're going to have a Lemurian, the Lemurian crystal really chooses you. And that's definitely something a lot of the crystal shops in Mount Shasta are like, that crystal has to pick you. You can't just go home with any one that you want, which I find really interesting. And some of the shops there even do readings on crystals so you can understand the personality of your crystal, how to activate it, and the different coatings of the striations within your Lemurian crystal. So, a little bit about the symbolism of these crystals. Their known Lemurian quartz is also known as Lemurian seed crystals or Lemurian star seeds. That's right, guys. They're this type of beautiful quartz I was just talking about, and we know that they hold ancient wisdom and knowledge of the lost civilization of Lemuria. There's these striations along one or more sides, and sometimes they're tapered or wand like. The most common colors are clear or smoky, pink Lemurian, and golden healer Lemurian. Beautiful variants of those are available. And Lemurian crystals and gemstones, they really do hold these deep meanings and symbols. And the kind of ridges are sometimes even referred to as barcodes, which store this ancient knowledge. So, having one, getting a Lemurian crystal is just one of the steps in working with it. You need to care for your crystal, you need to activate it, you need to work with it regularly to tap in to that information if and when the crystal person, this sentient crystal energy, wants to share that with you. And yes, Lemurian symbols, crystals symbolize many different things, including unity, love, inspiring us to live more harmoniously with each other and connect more to nature. You know, we can get so detached from nature in the day and age of technology, and it is important to unplug and go out into the earth, sit on the earth, connect with the trees, connect with the flora, the fauna, the sun, all of that. And bring your Lemurian with you. It will be happy out there and hopefully let you in on some of the secrets it holds. So, Lemuria Rising is the new Earth. That's my interpretation of it. And you really can see the parallels here. So, ancient Lemuria is rising. There's no doubt about it. There are mass awakenings happening on Earth. People are radically changing how they're living, how they're treating themselves and the Earth. And we are really witnessing the return of Lemurian energies with the new Earth ascension timeline. The mysteries and wisdom of Lemuria have not been lost. They're encoded into crystals, but they're encoded into us that have really powerful past lives connected to Lemuria and Atlantis as well. And many of the ancient Lemurian traditions have been preserved in Hawaiian and other Southern Pacific lineages, specifically the Kahuna, Kalea, and with Lemurian masters who, for millennia, have lived in Telos, at that inner earth city below Mount Shasta. So this wisdom has been preserved, just waiting for humanity to raise its consciousness enough again so we can tap into it. And we have reached that point where this wisdom can be given back, remembered, and used ethically. Okay, now let's get to the good stuff, guys. The Lemurian asteroids you need to know in your natal chart. Okay, so this is the Lemurian Asteroid Set. We have Hawaii, which is again one of the remnants that remain from the sinking continent of of Lemuria. And it really can symbolize where it's placed in your chart, what remains of Lemuria within you to tap into based on its house placement, based on aspects to planets, luminaries, as well as fixed stars. And it's a very strong past parallel life indicator of Lemuria and also indicates where you hold some Lemurian karma that you may want to work with, or Lemurian dharma, your purpose connected to Lemuria as well. Then we have asteroid Polynesia. So interestingly, the Polynesian triangle connects Hawaii, New Zealand, another remnant of Lemuria, and Easter Island. So that kind of represents the holy trinity of Lemurian energies. So where that shows up in your natal chart can really be a wonderful, again, past life indicator of Lemurian energy, but also how you connect your mind, body, and spirit in Lemurian consciousness. Then we have asteroid Bali. This is home to Mother Mountain, Mount Aung, if I'm pronouncing that right. Lemurian mother energy. Then we have asteroid Tahiti, known for Tahitian pearls or black pearls and crystal libraries. So asteroid Tahiti is a wonderful one to look at in your natal chart, where there is dormant, stored, lost Lemurian knowledge for you to access and how you can access it based on that house placement. Then we have Memoria. This is how to trigger memories from not just Lemuria, but from any other past parallel lives that Memoria asteroid is connected to. For example, you might have Memoria asteroid, let's say in the 5th house, conjunct like the Pleiades, right? Okay, that could be a really powerful indicator that you had a Pleiadian life before you came to Lemuria, and that you can unlock or trigger memories to remember those lifetimes through 5th house topics like play, hobbies, art, creativity, even romance or connecting with children. Then we have asteroid Alma. This is very much related to love, connection, and soulmate relationships connected to Lemuria, especially how that asteroid Alma relates to some of the other Lemurian asteroids, so aspects to those asteroids. Then we have 2 asteroids that I'm going to go into in depth in a couple of future slides, Makemake and Haumea. So Makemake is a creator god, and he really represents divine masculine energy, Lemurian father energy, sun energy, and in esoteric astrology, Makemake is associated with Ray 1, or the red ray of will, purpose, and Manu, the director of the human root races. Then we have gorgeous Haumea. She is a creator goddess, divine feminine energy, mother Lemuria energy, and moon energy. And in esoteric astrology, she is associated with Ray 2, the blue rays of love, wisdom, concepts of unity, and oneness. And then the last 2 Lemurian asteroids in the set are Oceania, which symbolizes connections to the beautiful ocean waters, or working as a water healer, either in Lemuria or now. Potentially, that might be something you're called to do, is to work with healing the oceans or healing waters, or it could also be emotions in a way, as water symbolizes emotions. And I highly recommend, if you're interested in asteroid Oceania, to check out the Mer Being asteroid webinar that's on YouTube as well. And then last but certainly not least, we have asteroid Atlantis. So this is very connected to past parallel lives on Atlantis and Lemuria. They're often intertwined, as they did overlap some. And some of us did have incarnations during both, or significant karma related to both of those timelines on Earth, the Lemurian timeline and the Atlantean timeline. An asteroid Atlantis can really show where you want to be mindful of using magic, technology, energy healing, crystals as well, to be mindful of how you're using them and to make sure you're using them wisely, or negative consequences can happen. We want to make sure that we're using things in a way that helps others, that enhances us, that is not causing harm. Okay, so how do you find these Lemurian asteroids in your natal chart? First and foremost, go to astro.com, astrodentist, at that website, astro.com. You can select a free horoscope. If you haven't already set up a free account, this is totally free to do. And then you want to go to their extended chart selection. You enter in your birth info. You need to have the exact time. If you don't, check out your birth certificate or ask your mom if your mom's available. And then you scroll down to additional objects. In that box that says manual entry, I think it's like a yellow plus sign. You open that and then you plug these in. You can literally just plug these in exactly as I have them written here with the comma in between for the asteroids, all of them on the previous slide. And then click show your chart and you can see where all of these Lemurian asteroids are in your natal birth chart. Pay really important attention to placements in the 12th, 1st, 4th, and 8th houses, as well as the 10th house. So I have quite a lot of these in my 12th, my 1st, my 8th, and my 9th house. It's a big part of who I am. It's a lot of how I feel connected to Lemurian as well. I definitely resonate more with Lemurian energy than Atlantean, although Atlantis has a big, part to play as well. And then, the 9th house of teaching, right? This is something I really enjoy sharing with people and teaching about. And I think you can learn so much from past life asteroids. And this is just one of the magical sets you might want to check out. So I'm going to go over a little bit of what it means with some of these Lemurian asteroids in the houses. Of course, you want to factor in different placements, strong conjunctions, harmonious or tense aspects between the planets. But in general, this is a really fun thing just to look at. So when you have Lemurian asteroids in the 1st house of your natal chart, that could really mean Lemuria energy is expressed through the self, through the personality, even through the body. It's a huge part of who you are. Lemurian asteroids in the 2nd house, this energy of Lemuria might be expressed through values, through personal finances, through material goods. Yes, in the physical sense too. Asteroids related to Lemuria in the 3rd house could be very much connected to local or mundane communication, short distance travel, commerce, or even siblings. Lemurian asteroids in the 4th house, very much connected to the home, parents, roots, Lemurian ancestral guides as well. Asteroids in the 5th house could be connected to romance, play, hobbies, and children connected to Lemuria, or even your inner child connected to Lemuria. Lemurian asteroids in the 6th house, very much connected to daily work routines, health habits, and has kind of a Lemurian vibe. You might be someone that likes to work in nature or with the oceans, or you're someone that has to really, as a part of your day-to-day health routine, connect with water in some way. Lemurian asteroids in the 7th could be very much related to long-term relationships, contractual agreements, or karmic connections associated with your lifetime in Lemuria. In the 8th house, this is connected to death, rebirth, transformation, and the deep layers of Lemurian energy in the psyche. Lemurian asteroids in the 9th house could be very much connected to long distance travel. You might be someone that wants to go to visit all of these different magical places in the Pacific Ocean. It could also be connected to teaching, higher education, spirituality, Lemurian spirituality, and philosophy as well. Lemurian asteroids in the 10th house could be very connected to your public persona, your career, and your legacy might involve some type of Lemurian energy as well. Lemurian asteroids in the 11th house are very much connected to friends, community, groups, and humanitarian issues. And then finally, Lemurian asteroids in the 12th house. It's a little more behind the scenes, dreams, rest, and an invitation to really clear Lemurian karma is there to do the healing work to help us clear any of the trauma related to the fall of Lemuria. So Lemuria can rise again, new and even better. All right. And then I want to talk about 2 really important Lemurian-ish asteroids, which are Haumea and Makemake. So Haumea is a creation goddess of the islands of Hawaii. And Haumea was the source of many, many gods. She's the mother of Pele, the goddess of volcanoes. And she as well was a race of humankind, creation goddess as well. So Pele, Namaka, Laka, and many others were her offspring. And it was said that children sprang from different parts of her body, and thus she rules over fertility, childbirth, and she possessed this magical stick that she could conjure up fish and food just at will. She was wonderful at manifesting physical, tangible items to nourish her children, to provide. So she is also associated with a never failing food supply and manifestation. She also has the power of eternal youth. So with each birth that she had, she was destroyed and then subsequently recreated herself. She's a very primordial energy in that way, creation energy in that way, and manifestation energy. And the archetype of Haumea is the response of quantum creativity and quantum manifestation, really, that gives forth abundance and life itself in response sometimes to deprivation or hardship. So the Haumea archetype represents quite a few things: profound connection to nature, connection to source and natural law, sovereign law, connection to truth telling and inner respect, triumph over adversity by understanding nature, an innate moral compass that all of us possess, but sometimes we don't always act in upon that moral compass in the ways that are in alignment with us. And so where Haumea is located in your natal chart will be the source of strength, spiritual connection. She is this primordial Hawaiian and Lemurian goddess energy. And she's often described sometimes as like a blend of Venus and Neptune with a sprinkling of the moon in there. So values like Venus and faith like Neptune. But she works at a level of psychic unity of humankind across time and space. So she's quantum and fractal in that way. So, how do we experience that on a personal level? That really depends on the sign that Haumea is in, the house it's in your natal chart, as well as aspects to other planets and fixed stars. So, Haumea in the signs. So, Haumea is considered a minor planet, a dwarf planet, or sometimes a Plutoid because it's really far out there, similar to Pluto and Eris. And it is classified as an asteroid in astrology. So just to kind of give you the breakdown on that, technically a dwarf planet or a minor planet, but for astrology purposes, we classify it and use it in software as an asteroid. It was discovered on December 28th, 2004, relatively new. And it was accepted by the IAU as a dwarf planet on September 17th, 2008. Fun fact: Haumea was originally named Santa. Okay, I'm so glad they changed the name. Santa just would not have made sense, I think. And there is a new tradition now in naming some of these new planets, minor planets, dwarf planets, and asteroids to bring the naming back to indigenous cultures, which again is such a powerful signification of Lemuria Rising and really giving the earth back to the indigenous persons it belongs to. So I'm a big fan of that. Haumea is egg-shaped with an orbit of 283.3 years, and it's located in the Kuiper Belt beyond Neptune. And so because it takes so long to go through the signs, I'm just going to cover the most important signs for those of us that are alive right now. So Haumea in Leo. If you were born between 1927 to 1960, you have Haumea in Leo. So those born after 1927, but before 1960, have Haumea in Leo. And this energy is very nurturing to the spirit and really growing through a process that's very important, and the need to channel potential explosive power constructively. This is fire energy, right? Leo is fire. It's giving, mother of Pele, mother of the volcanoes. So if you're born in that later half of that time, So we would say like post World War II, probably from like 1945 to 1960. There's also a Pluto Haumea connection. And those in that later half, post World War II folks have a unique role to play in birthing the new psychic unity that's beginning to be possible now that minor planet Haumea has been discovered. And so the house position, if you're a Haumea and Leo person, will show you in what area of life this transformational renewal will operate. It will also show you the area of your life through which you are excellent at manifesting, the area of life in which you are really wonderful at tapping into this nurturing mother creation energy and protection energy for the earth. So, Haumea and Leo, check out your house placement. That's going to give you more info. Haumea and Virgo. Okay, so those born between 1960 and 1993. You have Haumea and Virgo. This placement brings out the earth goddess side of Haumea. It's in an earth sign. It's not quite as fiery as the Leo Haumeas. So rather than the fire goddess, this placement tends to be more calm, more peaceful, seeking this natural harmony and ongoing rejuvenation. Virgo is the healer. It is very much connected to the earth and the mind as well, ruled by Mercury, right? All aspects of life, if it's well placed in the chart, it can really help ongoing rejuvenation, ongoing manifestation work, creation work, ongoing birthing of creativity in that quantum creative way that Haumea represents. If there are some struggle parts, some struggle points, or harsh aspects to Haumea, there might be some challenges with regeneration, or you might need to just do a little more work to move through that. And again, you want to look to the house that falls in so you understand where in your life, what area of life, those are the houses this Haumea in Virgo is expressed for you guys. All right, and then we have Haumea in Libra, 1993 to 2022. So those born after 1993 have Haumea in Libra, and this is a sign that seeks to realign the balance in relationships between people, nations, religious, spiritual groups, and the earth. Libra is the scales of balance. So this placement will bring a never-ending source of energy to this balancing progress and will continuously strive for the welfare of ourselves, of our loved ones. They're excellent at manifestation and creation through social connections, through groups, through community in that quantum group way. And again, you also want to look to the house that Haumea and Libra folks that falls in for you so you can understand what area of your life this is manifesting. Then we have Haumea in Scorpio. So moving from natal to mundane, Haumea moved into Scorpio at the end of 2022. And with this transit, the emotional deep waters of Scorpio will nurture Haumea's earth goddess. Her earth goddess side, but her fire goddess nature will be steaming, right? Because she is fiery regardless of what sign she's in. She is a primordial creation goddess. So this kind of hot house environment of there's tension building, it's deep in the earth. It's like a volcano as it starts to, right, emit some of that steam or smoke. That's a little bit of what Haumea and Scorpio is going to be doing through 2047. And it is interesting because it's very much connected to potential radical changes in our climate. Yeah. And the squares to Pluto. There's some long-term squares that transit Pluto will be making to transit Haumea and Scorpio. That will definitely kick up the heat, if you will, and are kind of paving the way too for more radical action in regards to the necessary changes in the earth to heal the earth in a deep way, a long-lasting way. All right, let's talk about Makemake. Okay, so Makemake is kind of the divine masculine counterpart to Haumea. And he is a creation god of the Rapa Nui. Makemake symbolizes a connection with environmental discernment, really needed for the troubled earth times that we're currently in, including environmental issues that were surrounding its discovery. So, when the Europeans discovered Easter Island, the Rapa Nui occupied this island that was entirely bare of all of its trees. And they could no longer make canoes, they could no longer fish for themselves. So, this island culture is also really famous for the incredibly large stone heads that were carved and erected there. The myth involving their creation god, Makemake, includes a form of worship in which a bird man was selected from tribal leaders each year, and they would compete in this dangerous journey where they would swim across the island. They would climb up this super high cliff wearing a feathered headdress, and they would have to get the first bird egg of the season. And once the championship returned, the first person that returned victorious, that person was selected for Birdman that year and would become a powerful shamanic figure among their culture. And this would guide the people. It's also said too that he would even spend months alone in a hut meditating to get visions, to tap in to his psychic centers, to his sixth senses as well. And so he would bring these visions back to the culture. Makemake is a male god with strong intuitive component, a little more of the Aries warrior energy to Haumea's more fertility goddess energy. So the Makemake archetype represents delving into the dark interior of the psyche for wisdom, to be merged with this warrior male energy of the ego. So it really is a blend of like your core sense of self, your ego, your sun energy, and the deep, deep layers of your psyche, which could be interpreted as more of moon energy or Neptune energy. And this wisdom can only be found in the inner world. So, a world also connected to nature, natural processes, natural law, right action, and to this internal moral compass. So, there's some overlap with Haumea. And where Makemake is found in the natal chart is earth wisdom and capacity for spiritual renewal and activism for earth. So similar to the archetype of Haumea, this Makemake, fellow traveler in the Kuiper belt, these two have similar orbital processes and periods. They travel around the zodiac in recent centuries, with Haumea leading by a separation of just 20 to 40 degrees. So pretty close together. And some astrologers describe Makemake as the higher octave of Uranus and the radical use of resources to achieve one's goals, as well as those humanitarian causes for the earth. Okay, so Makemake in the signs. We know Makemake is another one of those Plutoids, minor or dwarf planets, but we call it an asteroid here for astrological purposes. And Makemake was discovered on March 31st, 2005, was accepted as a dwarf planet on July 11th, 2008. And another little fun fact here, Makemake was originally named the Easter Bunny. Could you imagine if these two asteroids were Santa and the Easter Bunny in your chart? I'm so glad they changed the names. Makemake has an orbital period of 309.9 years, and it is in that Kuiper belt beyond Neptune, very close to Haumea, as we've established. So Makemake in Cancer. If you were born between 1930 to 1957, this is your Makemake placement. And these folks have a really remarkable intuitive and emotional intelligence about them that they can tap into. This innate wisdom can direct them toward industries that promote nurturing, caring, and support, enabling them to thrive in wealth creation and manifesting important things such as healthcare. You've seen the boom of healthcare in that time, right? Education and family-centered businesses that can become really fertile ground for empathic nature to flourish and higher levels of creating context within, which really embody this unconditional love for the planet, nurturing empowerment, and have room to take form and play. There's a need to also, I think, with this placement, protect the emotions. Folks with this placement sometimes can be a little more emotionally guarded, or feel very protective of others, depending on, again, where that's placed in your chart. You want to look to the house that Makemake in Cancer falls if you are within this range, because that will show you the area of your life most influenced by Makemake. All right, then we have Makemake in Leo. That's for folks that were from 1957 to 1985. And this placement is blessed with this inherent magnetic charm, natural leadership skills. It makes them well suited for success in entertainment, creative industries, or positions of authority, and kind of enjoys standing up for values, expressing that unique truth to the world, to groups, and kind of leading different causes that they feel really connected to. And at the highest level, these people with Makemake and Leo are learning to interface their personal story with the collective story for a new synthesis. You see this a lot. You see this emerge where people share their story to inspire others. And like, this is what I've gone through. You may have gone through it too. Now let's move through it together, right? And again, you want to look at the house placement that Makemake falls. That will let you know what area of life this natural magnetic leadership abilities really are getting activated in your life based on the house placement. Then we have Makemake in Virgo, 1985 to 2013. So that placement has a natural gift for really understanding this alchemical process. And they can process their experience in real time as they turn it into knowledge. So they're really in touch with this material demands of reality and can create and sustain a solid foundation for wealth and industries that really help, I think, emphasize helping others. Virgo, again, the healer, right? And their worldview is really informed by spirit, and they're adaptable. They find practices to help humanity so we can evolve. Looking to the house placement will give you even more information where Makemake and Virgo, for those of you, is really getting activated, what area of your life. Then we have Makemake in Libra, so 2013 to 2045. Those born with this placement can enjoy sharing their story and hearing the stories of others. Again, it's that social butterfly Libra energy. They're natural communicators and they know how to build meaningful relationships. And their inherent gift really opens doors to opportunities in fields like law, public relations, the arts, where their wealth potential awaits. And at the highest level, Makemake and Libra, they're able to cultivate collective teamwork and transcend borders as we recognize this. We're all just trying to make this a better planet to live on together. Okay, so how can this help us achieve our highest timeline? What's the point of all of this, right? So in Lemuria, we worked together in harmony. All beings were seen as equals, and we were deeply reverent to Mother Earth, to the cycles of nature, to our communities. And perhaps you too believe that heaven really can be a place on earth. Perhaps you are part of the transition team who, at a soul level, are devoted to creating this harmony on planet Earth now. So, thank you. If you're part of that group, thank you for wanting to do this work. It is incredibly magical and necessary right now. It's very easy to get overwhelmed by the state of affairs in the world, on the planet right now, but really want to encourage you guys to keep holding this clear vision for the future. It's closer than you think, and you might be guided to hold the frequency or activate or remember the frequency of Lemuria in your own community in your family, in your workplace, out in the activism you do in the world to really fight for ending of harm to others and ending horrific wars that need to end, and or within yourself too, right? We need to end the wars within ourselves too, so we can end the wars out in the world. So I just want you all to know that it is possible. And while at times it might feel like you're alone, you truly are not. There are thousands, millions, right, of us who hold the codes of this ancient lost land, and even Lemurian crystals, the magic that's buried in the earth, right, that hold the codes of remembering that are beginning to rise all over the planet. So keep doing what you are doing, and remember, the only way to heal the world around us is to first heal and awaken ourselves. That's where the magic's at. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you found this helpful. If you want to check out my Patreon, there's even more Lemurian content, some wonderful Lemurian water codes meditation. And if you want to connect with your Lemurian dragon, one of the original elementals and protectors of the ley lines and the portals of Earth, there's a beautiful Lemurian dragon meditation available there too. You can also get both of those on my website, single serving a la carte stuff as well. So thank you so much for watching. And yeah, if you want to learn more about asteroid astrology, starseed astrology, fixed stars, galactic origins, all kinds of fabulous spiritual and esoteric topics, please check out my website, my Patreon. I'll link them below. And thank you for watching. If you have not already subscribed to my channel, please do so. That helps me out a lot. And if you found this helpful, like, comment, ask questions, and share it with a friend. All right. Thank you guys so much. May Lemuria rise again. Mwah. Sending you all galaxies of love and gratitude.